Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're doing It Came From the Network. This is going to be a special episode of It Came From the Network, and what this is going to be is a tribute to Kevin Sullivan. Now, I haven't gone back and picked one event that specifically highlighted him. What I've done, and it's a lot different than what I normally do here, there's a very good YouTube channel called 106 N Albany, N being for North, but they have it as N in the YouTube site name. And they have a lot of the old Championship Wrestling from Florida stuff on there that's been uploaded. They have a very good playlist, which I'm going to link down here in the comments if you want to watch that first before watching my review of these matches. I've selected 4 matches from that playlist. They also have a bunch of promos which are absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend clicking on that playlist and watching most of it, if not all of it, because all of it is really good. Kevin Sullivan in Championship Wrestling from Florida is among my 5 favorite wrestler in a specific promotion runs ever. I'd put it up there with Raven in ECW, CM Punk in Ring of Honor, AJ Styles in New Japan Pro Wrestling. There is so much gold in that time frame, and it was a long time frame, but it is just a great run that he had there. So I selected 4 matches from that playlist. There are several others. These I kind of think gave a good idea of who he was. That's why I picked him before I watched him. As usual, I am going to grade everything here from a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Let's jump right into it. The first one, it looks to be a studio show match from November 24th of 1982. This is Kevin Sullivan and Jake the Snake Roberts versus Terry Allen and Scott McGee. And the name Terry Allen may not be familiar to you, but you probably know him better as Magnum TA. Scott McGee had some success in the 80s as a wrestler. Obviously, most of you know who Kevin Sullivan and Jake Roberts are. They're legends of wrestling. So is Magnum TA. This is kind of cool seeing Magnum early in his career and Scott McGee earlier in his career. This is a pretty solid match. It's kind of weird because Sullivan is dressed in what Gordon Soley would call his bunkhouse gear. He has jeans, a t-shirt, and cowboy boots on. And that comes into play at the end because he starts hitting Terry Allen. I keep wanting to call him Magnum TA because that's what I know him as best. He keeps hitting Terry Allen with his boot and gets a disqualification here, letting TA and Scott McGee, there I go again, pick up the win. I thought this was a good match, kind of indicative of what you would see in studio wrestling at the time. I'm going to give this one a 3. I thought it was good. Like I said, it's without knowing the full story on what was going on, takes a little bit out of it. It's cool seeing Kevin Sullivan and Jake Roberts as a team. It's cool seeing Terry Allen, the young Magnum TA, as a young wrestler. Even Scott McGee is cool seeing him here. He's one of them guys that I don't really remember or think of until they come up somewhere, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember Scott McGee. But anyway, good match. I enjoyed it. I think it's a good example of what you would expect on their show match-wise. Now the next one. This is a lumberjack match from January 13th, 1987, and it is Kevin Sullivan versus Lex Luger. This was really good. I know there's a lot of people that don't think of Lex Luger as a good wrestler, but he really was better than he gets credit for. And this early in his career, a lot of what the credit has here is to Kevin Sullivan. Kevin obviously pulled him into a great match here. I really enjoyed this. And all these matches are rather short, less than 10 minutes altogether. I mean, each match is less than 10 minutes, not all 4. But anyway, I digress. The main story of this is Kareem Muhammad, who you may remember if you watched Championship Wrestling from Florida at all, is on the outside. He's one of the lumberjacks, and he keeps interfering in the match. The end comes when Sullivan distracts a referee and Kareem Muhammad hits Luger with what looks to be a slapjack. This was all pretty awesome. I liked the way they had it set up. I want to say the referee was Bill Alfonso, but I may be getting it mixed up because Alfonso's the referee, I think, on all 4 of these. And I might be wrong. I might be remembering it wrong, but yeah, this was really cool. Obviously, Kevin Sullivan picks up the win after that. I'm going to give this match a 4. I really enjoyed this. Now, the next match is coming to us from September 20th, 1983. This is a steel cage, loser leaves town match. We get the Midnight Rider, who may or may not be Dusty Rhodes, going up against Lucifer, who may or may not be Kevin Sullivan. Both men are masked in the match. And again, this is probably the biggest feud, or the feud that most people remember from Championship Wrestling from Florida, that being Sullivan versus Dusty. I didn't see any matches where it was Kevin Sullivan versus Blackjack Mulligan, or I would have had them on here as well, because that's the other feud that I think stands out the most to everybody from that time frame. There is one with Barry Windham, which is another feud he had, but it's not the whole match. But anyway, I didn't look too far, I just pulled everything from this list. This is a really good match. This is my favorite of the 4 matches. I mean, you have basically Sullivan and Dusty Rhodes, and at this point, their feud had already gone on for a couple years, and it would continue on for a couple more. This was just a fantastic match. I loved the way they worked. I loved the way cage matches used to be worked at this time in what would be considered the NWA territories, and even prior to the Hulkamania era of WWF, how cage matches were worked there. If you think of something like Tito Santana versus Greg the Hammer Valentine, that's another great cage match that is an example of this. Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes have a great cage match in Jim Crockett that's like this. Kerry Von Erich and Ric Flair have one in World Class. There's a lot of really good cage matches, and the idea of the cage match was that it keeps everybody else out. Kind of simple. It's kind of went away from that over the years, and the escape the cage thing, which is okay. I understand that you incapacitate somebody enough to get out of the cage, but I like it better when it's just used to keep someone out. Keep out Sullivan's Army, which would have been like Bob Roop at this time, and Mark Lewin, the Purple Haze. Maybe Billy Graham was with him. I'm trying to think of who all was in the group that would have been right around this time. But anyway, I digress. This was a really fun match. Ultimately, the Midnight Rider picks up the win over Lucifer, unmasks him. It's Kevin Sullivan. He's banned from the company for a year, which I don't think lasted but maybe a month, which, you know, it is what it is. I'll take it with what they did here. I thought this was absolutely awesome. I'm giving this match a 5. Now, last but not least, our 4th match that I'm going to review here, Kevin Sullivan versus Dusty Rhodes from January 14th, 1984, which, as you can see, is just a few months later after Kevin Sullivan, aka Lucifer, lost the Loser Leaves Town for a year match. This was just a grudge match. There's no special stipulation. But again, much like the match before this was just great. It's 2 guys that hate each other. It's simple, it's effective. They work so well with each other and so well against each other that even this match that probably people in Florida have seen a million times, even a match like this works so well with what they did. I absolutely love what was done here. The main thing, and the thing that I was surprised about, and I kind of don't remember at all, so I'm going to ask you guys if you know about this, CWF fans from back in the day, let me know down here in the comments. The Midnight Rider comes out and helps Kevin Sullivan. Now, we all know the Midnight Rider was Dusty Rhodes, but I want to know who it was here. Was it Fred Ottman, who I kind of think it may have been? He didn't look to be tall enough to be that. Was it maybe Troy Graham, the Dream Machine? Was it maybe Ray Traylor? I don't know. And if you know, please let me know, because I tried looking it up and I couldn't find anything about the evil Midnight Rider. So, yeah, let me know here. The end of the match, the Midnight Rider attacks Dusty after there was a ref bump. Dusty has Sullivan in the figure 4. After the attack, the elbow drop on Dusty. The ref comes to. Kevin Sullivan leans up basically with Dusty's shoulders being on the mat. He gets pinned. Sullivan picks up the win here. Yet another wrinkle in the ongoing feud between the two. I thought this was really good. I'm going to give this one a 4 as well. I thought it was fantastic. Now, as you could guess, these were really enjoyable. And I don't want to give a total score because, like I said, there are 4 different matches. I ranked them individually. If you add this with the promos, which I don't normally review the promos, I just talk about them whenever we go through a show that has them. If you watch this playlist, watch all the promos, because there's a lot of them that set up these matches, that set up the feuds. Just some historically great stuff. I highly recommend checking it out. Again, the link to the playlist will be in the comments. From there, you could go to their website. From there, you could go to their YouTube channel, which again is 106 N Albany, N being for North, the letter N. So yeah, I highly, highly, highly recommend checking this entire playlist out. It is all gold. You will enjoy it, I promise. Especially if you like this era of pro wrestling, you'll really like it. And like I said, I don't want to give a final score. Each individual match has its own score. There are a few things I wanted to say. I did a video, another one, talking about him passing that I made roughly an hour after he passed, or after I found out that he passed. And there were a couple things that I left out of there. I did mention he's one of my favorites of all time. The one thing that I left out that I kind of wanted to show here as an explanation is this. My classic superstars, Jackson, this is a little bit dusty because it's obviously I haven't messed with it in probably a decade. But this is my classic superstars Kevin Sullivan. And the reason that this is so important, first off, this was a gift to me from one of my good friends, Gary. And if you watch this channel for a very, very long time, you might remember Gary from very early in the channel's history. But I wanted to bring this up because I hate the classic superstars line. I don't like the way they look. I think they all look kind of generic, but it gave us the opportunity to get legends like this. Like if you could see, and you probably won't be able to on the back, you have Nikita Koloff, which I don't think they've redone in the Mattel era. You have Howard Finkel, which they may have redone, but I don't remember. Adam Bomb. I mean, guys that you wouldn't normally get. So this, I think, even though I'm not a huge fan of the line, I think this is the best Sullivan figure there is. And the reason why, if you know me at all and if you've seen how I have my other figures, this is one of the very, very few figures that I've kept in the box just because I like the presentation. I have a Shield 3-pack that I kept in the box because obviously it's the 3-pack of the Shield. I have a Razor Ramon and Diesel 2-pack that are in its original case. It was a gift from my friend Joey way back in the day. I have a Blue Blazer that's still in its package. So as you can see, it's kind of the interesting ones or the rare ones, or ones that I consider rare myself. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up as something special. I know it's probably something you don't care about, but it's my connection to Kevin Sullivan. Like I said, he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And it is really saddening. And again, my thoughts and prayers are with his friends, his family, his associates, his co-workers, anyone that's had Kevin Sullivan and he's touched their life. My thoughts and prayers are with you. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and you've been watching It Came From the Net.